This is In the Trenches, broadcast 32.
Welcome to In the Trenches, where entrepreneurs, artists, writers, designers, inventors, warriors, and leaders share their stories of doing the hard, creative work that impacts all of our lives. Let the journey inspire you to do something worthwhile, build something bold, and create your life's work. And now, your host, Tom Moazzez.
Welcome back, everyone, to another broadcast of In the Trenches. Today's guest is Navid Moazzez, who is a lifestyle entrepreneur, personal branding strategist, blogger, podcaster, and online marketer, and he's currently based in Stockholm, Sweden. Now, Navid has helped entrepreneurs build their authority and powerful personal brands online for quite a while. And really what he does is, his whole goal is to help those of us working in the online space make more of an impact in their business and life. So, Navid, I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on, and I've been following your stuff for a while. You're all in the book marketing and helping people put out their books. So that's the topic I'm also super interested in, since I have a book for next year probably coming out. So happy to be on your show.
Awesome. Well, then I will definitely, maybe we'll have to connect after the call too and talk a little book marketing strategy. But before we dive into that, I want to know a little bit more about you. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started doing what you're doing.
Definitely. So kind of the backstory is, after high school, I spent a year in the United States going to high school there playing soccer. Then I came back to Sweden, finished up my last year of high school. So I have actually 2 high school diplomas, one from the United States and one from Sweden. Then, since my dad he's very successful. He's a doctor. My mom is a teacher. So it's always kind of, I had to do something and go this path of going to college, university. So I got actually accepted to one of the top law schools in Sweden here in Stockholm. And I just started, because I didn't really know what I was going to do otherwise. I didn't really have a plan. So I got in there, either I could go to law school, medical school, or kind of dental school. That was kind of the options, or maybe an engineer. And so I started there, it was probably good for about three or so years, but I still had in the back of my head, that this was probably not what I wanted to do, but I still kept going a little bit. I got pretty good grades, but then, I started to ask myself, what am I really doing here? And I started to read more books, started to meet people, and, How to Win Friends and Influence People was one of the first books I ever read by Dale Carnegie. And that was kind of the starting point of kind of starting to change some things in my life. That was probably around, I believe, late 2010 or something like that. That's when I started reading the personal development, reading a little bit more, and traveling, stuff like that. So then I became more interested in business, and starting something and really seeing what other people around me, they were doing, because they were traveling, but I didn't really know how I could do the same thing, how I could kind of become a lifestyle entrepreneur, have this kind of cool business, what I was seeing they were doing. So I just started to look for answers in that way, and eventually that led me to kind of to the path I'm on today, which I'm happy to share kind of how I led me to what I'm doing now as well.
Yeah, so tell me about that from the inception of your personal branded blog to what you're doing now. Tell me a little about why'd you go with your, for sometimes, like I went with my name as well for my blog. So tell me about that decision and get into that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I started actually in 2012. I was going to start up my site already then, and I believe I got a mentor, and we talked a little bit mostly about mindset and really getting kind of that stuff handled, because I believe that's so important. But I still was procrastinating a lot. I didn't really start. I was kind of jumping around from one thing to another. Then in 2013, actually a very horrible thing happened to kind of my, in my family when my brother, he passed away. He's just 22 years old. And then I was like, what am I doing with my life? I have really been talking about starting up a blog, starting with my name. Actually, I already thought 2012, I said I was going to start navidmoazzez.com, but it took me over a year, and this horrible, incident, really turning this adversity into something better eventually. But it was hard, for, since that happened 2013 in April, it took me about 2-3 months till I actually got it going. And it was when Pat Flynn had an event for his book, Let Go. I reached out to him and said, hey, I'd like to interview you. I didn't really know he would kind of reply or anything, but he did, like, just, a few minutes after I sent the email, and said, sure, I'll be happy to. And I didn't have my site or anything up yet. So I had to really push myself to take action, to take the right action. And then just a few days later, my site was live with a really detailed blog post, and that's still sitting there. It's kind of the journey I took. And that first blog post has almost, I believe, 100 comments today. So that's the journey. So it was kind of a natural to pick my name, navidmoazzez.com, but I still struggle because my name is, quite hard to spell. So I was like, why should I use something about, maybe lifestyle business, what I was starting in this direction. But I was like, no, not if I pick my name, I can really choose the direction I want. I can pivot down the road. So that's just, I just started it, and I'm glad I did today.
And when you first started, tell me about that. What was the intention behind it in terms of like what you first started doing to where it is now and what you're doing today?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of people. I was inspired by, Sean Ogle a little bit in terms of when he started to document kind of his journey in a sense, being very transparent. So I started that way too. I knew that my story was very inspiring and I could connect with people by sharing stories, good stories. So that's what I did on my site. So it was not really that I was kind of selling anything at the beginning. I was just providing great value. I was interviewing a lot of people, connecting with them. Like guys like Pat Flynn, I interviewed, Laura Rowe. There are many like influential, people in the entrepreneurial space. I reached out to them, built connections, on social media and so on. So then eventually, when I started, I actually did a blog challenge. I took a blog challenge by Natalie Sisson in like the fall of 2013. And that kind of I found my voice in that sense. So that's when I started to realize, okay, I'm pretty good at writing. I didn't even think I could write that well. I'm not even a native English speaker, but then I was pretty good. I wrote 45,000 words in about 20 days or something like that. So really pushing myself. And then after that, I decided that I wanted to redesign my website. That's when I really know that I really like this branding and really helping entrepreneurs with their personal brand too, because I got more questions about this. So it was not really from the beginning I focused on it. It was more in a transition that I kind of got into this.
And so tell me a little bit about, you mentioned in the beginning it was just providing value, but now you have obviously some sort of ways that you've monetized the blog.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about what you do in that context.
Yeah. And so, I have brand, I have like my branding services, like I have a branding agency. So I have a designer, he does websites for people. So that's one way I monetize with a service. Some people come to me and they want, a really great premium website that converts, then my team can help them. And that's one way. And that's actually after I redesigned my own site and people saw, okay, yeah, he has a very nice website. So they also wanted something like that. So that's one way. But obviously I have also consulting, and I started to get my first clients after I helped many people, even for free in the beginning, friends. I started to get more confidence. So it really started just having conversations, maybe if someone signed up to my email list, which I'm very focused on right now, then I have a conversation. Maybe they sign up for, a 20-minute call with me and I talk to them, I just share stories. And if they're interested to work more, that's, then they sign up and maybe work for a month, and that's 1 month or longer. That's a way I monetize. And obviously I have more ways I'm going to, but mostly right now it's also affiliates, which is really, I promote great products, by, guys like Ramit Sethi, and Natalie Sisson. I help them out with some promotion. That also made me quite some money with a small list. So I don't have a big list, but I still made quite some good money from those promotions in addition to my consulting and the, branding services I do.
Cool. So in terms of like building out your platform and growing up, what have you found to be like the most effective ways to get out there? You've alluded to or mentioned a couple ways you've done that, whether it was the blog challenge and so on and so forth. But what are you doing right now, specifically, or something you've done in the past that was really effective in terms of growing your user base?
I mean, the best ways I found in the beginning, that's actually like including people in my blog posts. One of the first things I did, that was quite early on. I did a roundup post about, my favorite podcast because I wanted to start my own podcast. And I thought that was a great way to kind of get known and, be seen a little bit. So I did that after I read it. I think I watched a video by David Siteman Garland, of the Rise to the Top, and he had something called the shout out strategy. So I kind of tried this out, include people and make it really detailed. It was not just this ordinary post where I just listed some people. I really made it nice. I had a description why I liked it, maybe include my favorite podcast of theirs. So that post went viral. I called it something like, my favorite, top 15 podcast that will rock your day or something like that, business podcast. So that post was the first thing I saw. Okay, I can get some traction. More people got to know me in this way, and also build great relationship with those people. So that's a way, like really having this roundup post, or even an expert roundup, when you ask them a question. I've done this for a personal branding post where I asked them, what are your three best tips for building, a personal brand online or something like that. And that post also, got over 1,000 shares, and like, because I reached out to the people afterwards and they are happy to share it. So that's really a great way how I got out there in the beginning and got known also for something, I'm helping people with personal brands. So it felt natural to write a post then with kind of including like 37 experts, that share their best personal branding tips. So that's a great way what maybe someone listening, they can do for their brand, do a roundup post in their topic.
So tell me about, like, what are some of the more biggest struggles maybe you've gone through building this platform? Like, what are the most difficult things that you've encountered that you've had to, I suppose, overcome building your platform and growing your company?
Yeah. No, it's really like the time to like really write a really detailed blog post, and then also promoting that, because it's one thing that I, sitting down, maybe spending 20-30 hours sometimes, because I write really detailed guides sometimes, and that takes time. But if I write this really, epic piece of content, then I also need to promote it. So that's really what I'm trying to find a balance there. Maybe trying to hire a team that can help me out with that. But right now I'm doing most of my work myself. I have my designer obviously is helping me with some technical things and the design work, but most of the things right now in my business I do myself, or at least try as much as possible. So that was the hardest thing, to promote, the content I put out there. But I'm getting better and better to do that. So really like spending maybe just 20-30% on the creation part, and then the rest, should really be focused on promoting it. Because if you create something really good, you want people to see it. So that's also kind of the reason why I decided, to take a step back from, just creating, these epic guides for podcasts. And now I'm doing this virtual summit, the branding summit I, talked a little bit in the pre-call. So that's the reason, because I know for what I'm doing now, I can provide value to so many more people. And also I can get my brand out there in a massive way by connecting with I have quite a lot of people on there, but I connected with them, over Skype video, and that's, massive for me.
So in terms of like where you're at right now, what are your goals in terms of like, I guess, 3 months out to like 12 months out? Like, what do you want to grow? Like, now that you have this user base, what do you want to do with it?
Exactly. I mean, my number one goal is to really keep kind of nurturing this relationship with the email list I'm building, because I'm now with the, my summit coming up, I'm going to grow my list with, I haven't started promoting it yet at the time of this recording, but I mean, I'm expecting a few thousand people sign up to my email list from just this virtual summit I'm doing. And that's massive, but obviously it doesn't really matter unless I build a relationship with them. So really providing really good content for them. And then I have, I have courses coming up for next year. So I have a lot of things going on, but I always wanted to build up the audience first, before I started to sell them too much, things, because I wanted to have really core audience that really likes what I do, that see the value I provide even for free. So my good, so if they see my, paid stuff, they go like, okay, his free stuff is that good, then his paid stuff must be mind blowing. So that's my goal, to really start monetizing the audience even more and maybe create courses, come up with books and so on.
Tell us a little bit more about the branding summit you're putting on. What is it about? Why'd you do it? What are your goals with it?
Sure. I've seen a lot of people, they do these kind of, virtual summits, which essentially can be, some recordings, with experts in your field, related to specific topics. So in my case, I decided to do it pre-recorded over Skype video. And, I just know that, okay, I'm helping people building their authority and personal brand online. So I wanted to have the number one, online conference related to this topic, So that's when I started to brainstorm what I can do. So I started to reach out to a few people, see if they were interested in coming on. And then I saw I reached out to maybe 20 people and everyone almost said yes. So then it kind of grew from there. And really it's an amazing way to build your brand by association and position yourself as an expert in your field, by having all those people on your summit, and also obviously build great, amazing relationships with them. You have to kind of tell them a reason why they should come on your summit, obviously. So it's something in it for them, like they can share maybe their gift so they can, they have a download or something they can even sign up for, if I link that up. And also I grow my list, that's, one of the main reasons for me doing this. I grow my email list, and obviously I can create a product really fast, which I can sell, after, during and after the summit. It's already a product in a membership site. So I have an income stream there too, since it's just there after I've done all these interview and bonuses, stuff like that. So it's a nice package. So that was the main reason. I really wanted to create the biggest summit, around my topic and really be known for this.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you expect that a couple thousand people will sign up for this in terms of,
Sure.
Which is pretty impressive. So where do you get those numbers from, those figures from? And how do you plan to promote this when it does launch? And this probably will go live around the time, a little before that it launches. I hope so. But if people are listening to that after this launches, it'll be around that time frame. So just as a point of reference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So, it's estimated, of course, since I haven't started promoting it yet. But I can say this, since I have so many people on the summit. I have, it's quite a big summit. I have over 60 people or something I've interviewed, and many of them, I've developed a really great relationship with them. So they will actually share with their email list. They will share on social media. They will, I have also other partners involved, friends and people I've built, other people, I've built relationship with. So, in social media, Facebook groups, Twitter, all that, I started from day one when I started building my personal brand online. I started actually, interacting not only with influencers, I also started interacting with, people maybe on my level. And, now they're a little bigger too, like maybe on my level, a few steps ahead. So then, they are also happy to help me out and kind of get the word out there because they see the value. So that's just how I see it. If all the people have, 10,000 people on, and let's say I have 30 people only promote it and 100 people from each person's list sign up, that's at least 3,000 people, So that's how I see the numbers.
That's awesome. Now, is this, as far as the summit's concerned, then is it just like a one-time event? Are you planning that this is going to be something that becomes annual or anything like that, or what are your goals in terms of broader scope with it?
Yeah, I might do it actually every year, but I have actually a few other plans with summits. If this goes well, this is obviously the first time I do a virtual summit or an online event. So if this turns out well and I cannot create a system that it's going to be easier to create new ones, maybe I'll do next year. I had a plan to do a book marketing summit called Book Marketing Jam, and maybe a list building summit. So I have some ideas on kind of turning summits into something, I'll be known for doing really great summits. Because I've seen people in the health niche, Sean Croxton, for example, is from Underground Wellness. He was a guy I modeled, looked at what he was doing in the health niche, and then I took it kind of back to kind of more the niche I'm in with personal branding, online marketing. And so that's actually a great tip. Really don't only look in your own industry, go to other industries. That's what I modeled their funnel, essentially. I looked at how their sales pages looked, their landing pages. everything, and I took it to my, what I'm doing, and that's why I'm pretty confident that it will work out better than if I've just kind of guessworked, and I didn't really guess. I already saw what was working.
That's awesome. So I guess, in terms of like going forward, what do you mentioned you had some other ideas going forward. Tell me a little bit about that, like in terms of like, I guess, broader scoped goals for your platform and where the direction you're headed. And I know we kind of alluded to that, but
Sure. Yeah, no, that's great actually. So you obviously have the summit now, and that's the idea first behind the summit was actually to build up more of a targeted audience towards like when I have a book coming out or something like that in the future, it will be so easy to promote that because they're already interested in what I'm doing. For example, if I have a book around personal branding, obviously if I have the top conference around this and now I've done so much research, it would be so much easier, maybe even do a crowdfunding campaign and really get some funding for that, for the book. And it's going to be easier to do that and also have a course. Probably if I can get the time next year to do it, branding school, that's going to be, coaching program and maybe also training course where I walk people through kind of the steps, on how to build a personal branding the way I've done it, and also what all the experts in this summit, teaching. So I'm also learning in the way, from all the experts, how they built their brand, and I kind of can implement that into my teaching and how I help other people as well. So that's some things I have really planned. I want to maybe get into speaking, like really maybe Toastmasters to kind of improve my speaking skills so I can go out on stage and really improve that too. So I'm excited for a lot of things, and maybe even going to the States next year to check out some events.
Awesome. Well, if you come to the States and I'm around, man, let me know. I'll be traveling around the world a little bit, but if we can cross paths, that'd be great.
Definitely.
But Navid, I just want to say, hey man, it's coming to that point where I'm going to wrap up. So I just want to give you the floor to let people know where they can reach out to connect with you and possibly join the summit, which again, I think by the time this goes live, it'll be either before it launches completely or around that time.
Sure. So I'm quite easy to find. So you can connect with me over at navidmoazzez.com, or, it's a little hard to spell. So navid.me, I have the short link there. And if you are interested in kind of building your authority and personal brand online, I have some amazing speakers coming on like John Lee Dumas, Neil Patel, Marissa Murgatroyd, and many, many more. So then you can actually sign up over at thebrandingsummit.com, and it's free to sign up for, if you're signing up throughout November. So that's what I'm really excited about. And it really, even if you don't want to build your personal brand, which I think you should, everyone should build it, can still check out how I kind of built my funnel there and kind of how I structured everything. So I think that can be of value to many people.
Great. Sounds awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for being on the show with us today, man. It was great to pick your brain a little bit and kind of get an inside look at what you're building. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks.
Awesome, man. And that wraps up another broadcast of In the Trenches. If you're interested in checking out the show notes, just head over to tomworkers.com/podcast to see our latest episodes. Also, I just wanted to give a quick update to fans and listeners of In the Trenches, and specifically what I'm working on right now. For the past 2 years, I've been publishing books, my own and others, through Insurgent Publishing, my boutique publishing company. In the past 6 months alone, I've helped 4 individual authors launch their books to bestseller on Amazon, including Dan Norris's The 7-Day Startup and David Nihil's Do You Talk Funny, among others. And both of those books are still top of the charts months after launch. I've learned 2 important things from all this. Number 1, that people still read books. And believe it or not, they're willing to pay for the good ones. And number 2, the $60 billion book industry is only getting bigger, and the barrier to entry is only getting lower, which means access to this market has never been closer to the average writer, blogger, or author. It is literally within the grasp of anyone who wants it. But you need to know how to approach it the right way, with patience, with a strategy, and with the right implementation and execution. That's why I've been able to launch so many bestsellers, many that are still top of the charts, because we brought great books to the people who wanted and would pay for them. No slimy sales tactics, just honest, powerful marketing. Now, I want to show other authors and publishers how to do the same. 4 months ago, I launched the pre-beta to a new super secret platform called Publishers Empire, In that time, I've helped a dozen authors and publishers start to bring their ideas to life. And with their help and feedback, we've quickly developed what is, in my opinion, the best, most comprehensive publishing training platform in the world. And now I'm getting ready to open the doors up to a few more students. So if you're interested in being part of a tight-knit family of publishers who help and support one another through their writing and publishing projects, if you want access to over 100 HT training videos to take you through the writing and publishing process, if you want access to proven copy and paste book marketing and sales copy, stuff that we've used to launch bestsellers, and if you'd like professional book covers and templates you could plug your own work into and look like a pro in minutes, and if you'd like all of that while getting the chance to be mentored by me, check out publishersempire.com and sign up to be notified when we launch. That's www.publishersempire.com. I hope to see you there. As always, this is Tom Morkis. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Thank you for listening to In the Trenches. Your creative work doesn't stop here. Join the resistance, the small but growing army of entrepreneurs and artists putting a dent in the world at www.tommorkis.com. Never fight alone. Join the resistance.